Hello. It's bloody gloomy today. It's horrible. I'm sat right up by the window, so it don't look too gloomy. And, but yeah, Jays. I forgot what I was doing there. Jays. Mind the clanging on the mic. One tiny little movement on that mic, and you hear this horrible like grinding clanging noise. But yeah, Jays. PS1 Collection Jays. Only five. Shouldn't take too long. Said that in the past and lived to regret it. But some good games in here. Um, yeah, a nice mix of titles. Some are relatively new, so I haven't played too much of them, but I'll get around to those. They're coming at the end. So yeah, crack on. Number one, Jade Cocoon. Jade Cocoon. It's basically a monster capture, monster training RPG. What's his face? Always forget character names in RPGs because they're generally pretty wacky. Yeah, you're this character here, and he's like this. He's like this young. I forgot what they call them. Sorry, got distracted. Something better to see outside. Yeah, you're this character, and he's like this. He's like this sort of certain breed of or a certain race of people who can train monsters, but he's raw and he doesn't have the abilities yet. And he doesn't have any training. I think it's one of these sort of classic RPG storylines where he's sort of on his own, or his dad's dead or something, or his dad's gone. He hasn't got a father figure. One of these, and one day he ventures into. I think he gets told. Now it's been a while since I played it. He gets told he has to go and seek out this mad old dude who lives in a dangerous forest, who can help him train, and so he can realise his abilities. So that's pretty much how it starts. What's the storyline? It's probably another one of those evil empire invasions. I don't think it's actually, but there's someone evil involved somewhere along the way. But basically, you venture off, and when you start, you've got no monster taming abilities other than the ability to capture them, and so essentially the first few turn based, because the actual action's turn based. The first few battles are basically you're on your own, and you've just got one attack. And it's just like one knife swipe, and then you do a little bat flip out of range of these monsters. But you think it's like all RPGs. You get sort of, it starts off and you go, this is rubbish. This is all the abilities I've got. But then no, it develops from there, and you capture the monsters. I think pretty much like any monster capturing RPG. I'm guessing Pokemon's like that. Not that I really know too much about it, but you have to weaken them to the point where you can capture them, and you've got this sort of little flute thing that you whip out your pocket and you tootle on it. Is it a flute? Oh, it's some sort of I'm sure it's a flute, some sort of instrument. And then this big orb of light surrounds the sort of the half dead beast, and then it sort of sucks it up, and it disappears, and you've basically captured it. So. And then you can take it to a weird woman in actually when you've got more than one, because you can do it with all of them. You can take it to a weird woman in your village, and you basically stand around. They stand around clapping out the rhythm while these two totally unrelated species of animal monster start going at it. In order to breed, and that's not how it works. Basically, it's some sort of magical process, and she combines these two monsters. You get a monster, but you actually have to meet the guy, and he trains you, and then that's when you get to be able to use the monsters. And that's pretty much the whole game. Is the combat is the monsters that you've captured and breeded, and sort of developed. It looks really nice. So the actual the dungeons sort of mostly forests. But They're really nicely pre-rendered, like sort of Final Fantasy type Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy games on the PS1. Um, uh, the villages you can no you can't navigate around the villages, but you want to navigate via menus. If you want to go to a certain house, you select it on a menu. Then when you get to that location, you can move around. It's you have control over your character in that sense, but you don't have full control over the character within the villages. But you do in the dungeons, obviously. Otherwise, it'd be a bit rubbish, wouldn't it? Bloody hell. I would like that. Cuts out the light. But looks really nice. Like I said, it's pre-rendered backgrounds. The music's great, actually. The music's quite sort of tribal. It's quite unique in that sense. But a really nice hook for this, a really nice draw, is that there's a lot of the character models, like the portraits that accompany the dialogue boxes, and sort of the what's the word, yeah, pretty much the dialogue boxes, and also some FMV sequences, or cinematic sequences look hand drawn by Miyazaki, or Studio Ghibli at least, because the art style is very, very reminiscent of some of the Studio Ghibli films, particularly Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. There's certain sort of monster attributes. You can see the designs are really similar, so that would be a nice hook for anime and Studio Ghibli enthusiasts. It's a really good game, actually. I highly recommend it. There's a sequel on the PS2 which I've got but not played. Now, one of my favourite fighters on the PS1, but it's really wacky, and I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm a proper button basher when it comes to this game. It's Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. It's great. I lose track of what I'm doing. Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty much a sort of born bash. But I'm about fuck's sake, I'm a button basher anyway. But when it comes to this game, I just don't really know what I'm doing. I've never really looked at the instructions on it, and there's all these extra bits, like you have these weird sort of spirits who sort of accompany you, and they sort of fight for you at some point. It's weird, but the roster of characters is pretty bonkers. I think it surrounds Jojo. I can't really remember the storyline. There's one character who whips out I think it's a steamroller. It's just giant steamroller. It's mental. There's just no, you're not going to see it. The screenshots on the back are crap, but it looks beautiful. It's a really stunning looking sort of 2D fighter, Capcom 2D fighter. So obviously mark of quality there, but it's pretty unique especially in its art style. But can't remember what the sort of combos are like, because I think I've mentioned in the past I'm shit when it comes to combos, so I'm probably not the person to ask. Like I said, I'm a button basher, but all I know is it's bloody good fun and it looks great. I think there's a whole load of sort of Japanese only PS2 games, and there's this. It's also on the Dreamcast, and I'm guessing probably because it's the Dreamcast and it's more powerful, different generation. I'm guessing the Dreamcast version will be better, but then you've got the shitty little Dreamcast Dreamcast pad, Dreamcast control pad. But JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, right up there, along with sort of Street Fighter Alpha 2 and 3, and the Darkstalkers games, and also I keep forgetting, like everyone does, Guilty Gear. Along with those, probably my favourite fighters on the PS1, and also Evil Zone. I can forget Evil Zone. Only three more, but two of them are in a series, but this one isn't. Another sports game, Jojos, Jojo, Jonah Lomu Rugby. This is a bit of a nostalgia thing for me because I used to play rugby, and I was only one of my friends who used to play rugby, or sort of proper school friends in the rugby club, but I was only one of my school friends who played rugby. So I used to say that I could, when Jonah Lomu was around, I could tackle Jonah Lomu, but Obviously, sort of bravado. I think I genuinely believed it, but bravado at the time took over. But obviously, they weren't rugby players, so they didn't believe me. But the game, yeah, it's okay. It's obviously because rugby. I think rugby is a really difficult sport to emulate or to create in a video game because there's so many rules and like technical rules as well. There's more technical rules in rugby than there are in football. Football is pretty simple. There's only like certain things like offside, which takes explaining, isn't it? And the others are pretty logical. Whereas rugby, I think they've changed now. They've changed from when I used to play because I stopped playing when I was sort of late teens. I was too small. Everyone got really big. I kept getting squashed. But there's things like it can't emulate the things like the scrum rules. There's multiple scrum rules and sort of rules at the breakdown. All these really technical rules, and like all the best players in the world nowadays are basically players who live on the edge of the rules and sort of live in the sort of the grey areas where the rules are concerned. And this sort of game can't cater for those sorts of intricacies. It's pretty basic, but it's good fun. I mean, when it comes to games like this, it's like they're obviously there are sort of different size players and stuff and sort of speed and whatever, but it's always disappointing because in rugby you always get one player who's particularly fast. You can sort of burn around the outside of someone, but you can't in this game. You always get tackled. It's really annoying. It's really difficult to make a break and sort of score from a long way out. But when I played, that was my speciality because I was nippy. I wasn't big, but I was nippy. Shit! No, it's not again dark, is it? I'll hold it like this so I don't block out the light. Why is it? It's not blocking out that much light. But yeah, I used to play rugby. I've got my I used to, like I say, I used to be convinced I could tackle Jonah Lomu, but I mean I've got experience in that. I was never very good at tackling. I've got experience in that field because he reminds me of this character who used to play for this Welsh team that we played regularly. Played a lot. They were really good. They had these two really skillful little. They had a sort of scrum half and a fly half. They were really skillful, and nippy. But then on top of that, they had this hulking great bastard who was, I think he was a prop. They used him as a prop, but he was massive. He was a fucking giant. But he was big, but overweight, properly overweight. And I just wanted to tell people the story. I was using this as an excuse. He was probably overweight, but he was strong. And every game, you'd always hear parents from my team going, legs, 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 like that. And then whenever he got the ball, there'd always be a load of little kids all just like grabbing onto his ankles as he was like striding down the pitch, and there'd be a line of little kids just going, ah. But it was pretty scary actually. But the upside was if you could actually tackle him, he was that fat and heavy that he would go down like a great oak. Go doosh, hit the ground, and like the ground would rumble, and it was that heavy. He used to hurt himself if he got tackled because he'd hit the ground with a proper thud. You shouldn't laugh, but you couldn't help. And it was like a big achievement if you tackled him because he was that big. But he was my Jonah Lomu, and I think in that sense, that's why I convinced myself, like I could tackle Jonah Lomu. But it's okay. It's relatively collectible actually for a sports game, but. Yeah, there you go. Blimey, I whittled on a long time about that without actually saying much about the game. But two relatively new games I haven't played a lot of, only up to the point of testing them. But they are In the Jays, Jumping Flash, and Jumping Flash 2. Yeah, sort of. They are first-person platformers essentially. You play this character, and you jump about. It's first-person platformer, and it's pretty unique. Oh, it's sort of quite an arcadey sort of approach to the game. Obviously, most platformers are, aren't they? But you have sort of sort of shooting abilities, so you can fire at enemies and stuff. So it's not a sort of a straight up first person platformer, but you check out some videos actually, because it's pretty unique, because the first person platforming sort of, it could almost give you vertigo, because you can, sorry, something rumbled behind me. You sort of go up and then you can actually spot the landing. You can sort of you know what I'm talking about. You spot the landing. You can see the earth whizzing up towards you as you land. But it's pretty unique in that sense. But they're colourful. Number 2 is really difficult to get hold of. It doesn't come around too much, especially for a good price anyway on an auction. But number one, it took me a while to get. I did have one dodgy copy, but it wasn't good enough, so I had to send it back. And this one's a relatively recent purchase. I think it came from Amazon. But Jumping Flash 1 and 2. Like I said, I won't go into too much about them. But actually, recently TG Appalachian did tell me that this company made them, went on to make Ghost in the Shell, which is really good. So, which I mentioned in the G's, which I've got. So there's a good pedigree for the company. Who are they? Just realised I've not taken this sticker off the back. Shit, that's going to have to come off. They are. I can't see, but it's on there somewhere. But there you go. It's Jumping Flash 1 and 2. Ooh. And altogether, not much of an episode this, because I didn't say too much about the games. I was whittering bollocks. But Jade Cocoon, Jojos Bizarre Adventure, Jonah, Lomu, Rugby, Jumping Flash 1 and 2. So there you go. I won't be able to record any more today because it's too dark and it's just grim and depressing. But and there's, it's obviously not light. But look out. What's after J? K. How many got them? 6 Ks. Again, a nice little selection of titles. So look out for the Ks, and which will be along probably in a sort of 3 or 4 days if I don't make a video in the meantime. But look out for that. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. See you later.